All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in to the We the Collective Fitness Podcast, or WTCF. Today, we're met with Hunter to go ahead and walk through some of her journey. She's one of the very first people who signed up for us, and some of her journey has been really, really cool and fun to watch. Again, watching her deadlift go up and kind of seeing the other great work that she's been able to do. So just wanted to kind of share her with the rest of the community and see, if any of her stuff helps you out. So go ahead. Any other introduction stuff, any other fun things to get started with?
Any other fun things? Well, first, thank you for saying it's impressive to watch my journey, because sometimes we get so wrapped up in our own thoughts, our own journey, that it's hard to see it from an outside perspective. So thank you for that. I live in Forest Park. It's obviously, because the collective's here, it's kind of a fun place to spend time. I say as I spend a lot of time here. I teach at Triton College, early childhood, and husband, cat. That's basically my life, I think. Kind of simple, but simple sometimes good.
Yeah, absolutely. So go into a little bit more about what you're doing over at Triton and kind of, what's something fun about that you've been learning and spending your time on.
So there's been a lot of fun things learning about being at Triton, because I started off adjuncting at Concordia, Chicago. And going from adjuncting while working full-time in a preschool classroom, it's very different, because the stress then changes when you move into a full-time faculty role.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's been some fun challenges with that. One of the fun things is I got hired under the ECAS grant that Illinois State has been, not Illinois State University, like the state.
Mm-hmm.
They've been, Illinois State's just been giving money. But no, the actual state of Illinois has been giving money to a lot of colleges and universities to help fund early childhood, giving scholarships and things like that. So I was brought on as temporary full-time faculty because of the fact that I think I designed 3 classes in a row, did a bunch of other things. They ended up moving me to tenure track. But some of the fun things just have been getting to know the people there, because moving from young children and working in a university setting as an adjunct to community college, even though there's a lot of similarities, it's a different group of people. And that's what I really enjoy about working there. And that's something I think that's the best. And also what I've learned the most from is the group of students.
Oh, because what I think is really funny is that the Tri Cafe is right there. So just over this last weekend, Thunder Soccer, one of the other organizations I'm involved with, was selling drinks. And what I thought was really funny is the Tri Cafe was right next to us. So they just kept giving us the garlic shrimp. I need to find a way to get that garlic recipe. I don't. If you can infiltrate and steal it,
I will try. I think it's probably the same as the one they use for their garlic wings on Wing Wednesday.
Probably, it's probably the same one. It's phenomenal stuff. If I can go ahead and steal that. So what initially sparked your interest in fitness? What was the moment you're like, yeah, this is something I want to start to do?
So fitness was kind of an elusive concept growing up. We knew that fitness was a thing, but I didn't grow up in a family that was let's just go work out. It actually started really early in my marriage, where about I want to say a year and a half in, my husband started going to the gym, and then he started dragging me to the gym. And I mean dragging. I don't mean I went willingly. I mean he's you're going. So originally not sparked interest in fitness.
Just kind of forced into.
Just forced into. But when we started working out together, a lot of it became fun. It was one of those things where working out with a buddy was a lot of fun. And then of course the pandemic happened. So that kind of stalled our fitness, and I had a hard time getting back into fitness. And that's when I joined Spanga because of Karina. So I'm blaming her, but I also adore her.
Well, she's here too, so she probably has something to do with you moving to this spot as well.
She actually, she told me
about it. Fair.
But yes, so once I started doing that, I really enjoyed a lot of the instructors, and that helped my motivation come back and started sparking that interest again.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to say what made you to join, but I'm going to say that was Karina.
It was Karina.
Yeah, that's the easy
when
one.
I told her I was moving to Forest Park, she was like, "Hey, we're actually opening a place there," and so I once we officially had everything in the new place, I just started walking over.
Yeah, because it's a block or two away, which is really, really convenient. So can you share a significant turning point? So again, there's a huge turning point from where you're getting dragged to go to the gym and now you're doing it on your own.
Yeah.
Like, what was that turning point? Like, what made you flip that switch?
So a lot of things. But what it really boils down to is just being able to see what I'm physically capable of, because I hate cardio.
Yeah,
and being dragged to the gym. My husband likes cardio. It's one of the few people I know who like cardio. But I just seeing what I can do. So like being here and being able to lift and seeing like, okay, like maybe sometimes it's not as heavy as I want it to be. And maybe sometimes it's like 5 pounds less or 10 pounds less or 20 pounds less than the last time I did it, but still being able to see like that I can do it, that I can start getting in deeper into new yoga poses. So that's kind of like a nice continual motivator.
See, that's actually one of the reasons that I wanted this company to be the way that it is now, right? Because so many people who don't have strength, they'll have mobility but no strength. They'll have strength and no mobility, and some people just don't have either. But again, to recognize that the lifting aspect of it is actually helping with the yoga posture. Do you have like a specific posture that you're like, when I started doing this exercise here, it helped this specific pose? Just out of curiosity.
I think a lot of squatting helps, because especially when you're getting, I don't know what any of the yoga poses are called, and I apologize for that.
I just know the English words for it. I'm supposed to know the Sanskrit, but I'm terrible with it.
Perfect. So we'll struggle together. So anything with squatting, where especially when you have to get low into yoga poses, and there's like one where you like push your elbows against like your knees.
Oh, what is that, frog?
I think
Malasana?
Maybe.
It's one of the very few ones I actually do know the Sanskrit for. I know like 5 total words.
Yeah.
I just know they all end with asanas.
But it also, I think, helps vice versa as well, especially with like doing like pigeons before doing like any like lifting that involves like your hips being able to be open. But I'm preaching to the choir, I'm sure, on that. So
yeah, because I've had so many hip issues and other things that are kind of happening. So let's keep rocking everyone forward. So the challenges that you've gone along the way. Well, we're going to go with this one. How do you define health, and what role does it play in your life with early education?
So health took me a long time to understand for myself. I understood it through early education and through educating others first, because it's always easier to be a hypocrite. Is kind of what I jokingly say. Yeah. So reminding people to take care of their mental health, to make sure that they're taking the breaks that they need, to make sure that they're eating well, to make sure they're just moving in general, even if they can't go work out. Encouraging people to do that. Early childhood, teaching kids like, hey, like it's okay to eat the cookie, but we're also going to try some vegetables. Granted, it doesn't work out that way. And just reminding people that everyone's bodies are different, which again, very hypocritical. So with my own health, I'm trying to focus more on what I'm able to do physically, taking more mental self-care. That was really hard to say. And also trying to just be more present and mindful. That sounds like
it's very yoga sounding.
It is very yoga sounding, but it's a lot more challenging than telling other people to do it.
Yeah, it's easy to say the thing and not to be the thing, right? Exactly, to your point of being like a hypocrite with it. So, what challenges have you faced along this journey, and then how did you overcome them? So something that like might have been a little bit tough or overwhelming. Now you look back and it's like, wow, that was easier than I expected to get through it.
So lots of different challenges. But one that I know I've been talking to you a little bit about is like just eating in general. So with me, it's like I self-diagnosed as anorexic. And when I asked my therapist about it, she's like, that is anorexia. So I don't want to like claim the label, because I've never had a doctor look at me and be like, you are anorexic. But skipping meals intentionally to lose weight. And also then when I was working in early childhood, over exercising with the kids, like squatting down, picking up babies all the time, with the intention of losing weight in an unhealthy way, focused more on physical appearance. And one of the things that's really helping right now is looking at the scale infrequently, which I know is probably backwards for a lot of people. But for me, it's more helpful. And also focusing on what my body can do. rather than focusing on the weight. And also like looking in the mirror and being like, I look better than I did when I was, because like now I have like muscle as opposed to just trying to be skinny. And there are good days and there are bad days.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll be honest, yesterday was a bad day. Like yesterday was a day where I was like, nothing sounds good. So nothing sounds good. And also like, I feel like I've been eating a lot recently. I've also been eating out, but I also went on a trip. So like all of those things. So I'm not completely over the challenge, because some days will be harder than others.
But you recognize that there's a challenge there,
right?
And you have smarter decision-making processes than you did beforehand,
right?
Or at least some additional forgiveness to self of like, okay, if I stop doing this for a little bit and start doing this other thing, I'll probably be able to get myself back into the right path. So again, we all have to go ahead and stumble now and again. It's part of the journey.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the bigger thing in overcoming the challenge per se, is just knowing that it is a challenge, because the second you tell yourself it's not a problem is when it's
probably a problem.
Yeah.
See, like what you brought up a second ago, and I keep finding this really funny, and I ask women this all the time. It's women who get very, very particular about it. And I go, would you take being 20 pounds heavier to look better in the mirror?
Probably, yeah.
So a lot of people would say, no, they're so concerned with what that weight is. Like, I also joke around. It's like, if someone gave you the ability to flip a car, just go outside and flip a car. It's like, would you turn it down? It's like, you'd still be able to like crack an egg, or you wouldn't be like super strong, destroying everything. You would just be able to infinitely apply more pressure to whatever you're up against, right? You would eventually be able to move it. And they're like, no, I don't want that. I'm like, who wouldn't want to be infinitely strong to some degree? So like hearing that one and trying to get an understanding of like, okay, well, the big concern is, how much does this gravitational force pull on your mass? Because that's what our weight's going to turn out to be. Yeah. So why is that? Why is an arbitrary thing that we don't have control over how hard, gravity is just going to pull on us? We have no impact over that whatsoever. It's going to do that until we either launch into space or we die. And then still our body gets held in the ground by gravity. But like to say like, they would not take the opportunity to be stronger. Right. And I always find that super, super strange. And I just probably have to have more conversations with people to understand like, well, why wouldn't people want to feel super strong? Was there a time where you would have preferred like not being strong during? Yeah, because I find that really just interesting.
Well, and I think, so now my mindset is yes with the 20, but also in my head now, the 20 pounds is muscle. If you asked me yesterday in the middle of the day, I probably would have started crying and saying, no, I want to be 20 pounds lighter. Again, yesterday was a bad day, but I think everyone needs to hear that our people have bad, because recovery is not from any eating disorders, not straight. Recovery from anything is not straight and simple. It's ups and downs, it's hilly. And so there is a part of my brain that when you asked that was like, oh no. But like, I also, the logical part of my brain is like, yes, that's muscle. That's also from having conversations with you, being here, having conversations with my husband. Like, those play a different motivational impact, I guess.
He's actually due to come in and do some more deadlifting, actually.
Yeah, he is.
So, with you now, I've referred to as a fitness enthusiast because you're here almost every day now. What advice would you give to somebody who's new or maybe looks at something like weightlifting or these challenges that come from the classes here? What kind of advice would you give to somebody who might be new or thinking about it?
Just try it. Because being here is the first challenge. So it's like what we were talking about earlier with just acknowledging that there's a problem.
Or the fact that 5:45 is really early in the morning.
Yes. But just being here is the first step, because no one's going to force you to lift heavier than you can, which is nice. I appreciate that. And everyone's very respectful of what your own individual body can do, because all of our bodies look different, move different. All of us have different like chronic issues. Like I have that chronic issue with my knee that sometimes flares up. So just showing up and just trying it is the biggest challenge, I think.
Yeah, it's funny because I was watching another podcast last night, the one for Elite FTS, and it has Dave Tate and one of my favorite lifters, J.M. Blakely. So if you ever have a chance to like listen to this man speak, like he is pure Zen and how he goes about everything. Incredibly knowledgeable, very like calm when he speaks. It's just Awesome information. Just we're talking like so much years of coaching and just being an elite power lifter, 700-pound bench,
Yeah.
which is like ridiculous. And one of the things I thought was funny about it is like you go out there, it's like, yeah, you can go out there and fail a rep. It's like I can fail that rep better.
Yeah.
It's always like because you can just always add more. I can fail an infinite amount of weight, but at some point I'll be able to move it. So there's like we keep scaling it down until it's accessible. So what I kind of got from that one is like it's not so much of like being able to lift the most; it's the most to you and being better than.
Sometimes this is like I think you were sharing like at this point this is going to be like just lifting your arms is going to be physically impossible.
Yeah, at some point, infinite reps, 1 pound will be insurmountable.
Yeah,
like that's it'll take some people. It'll take a really long time. I think there was like some. It's like I think it was like some Mr. Beast thing. I don't watch the guy, but I heard some other thing. It's like the guy had to do like a 5-pound curl, and every curl that he got like $1 or something like that. So he just kept curling forever with this 5-pound weight, and eventually you just cannot.
Yeah.
Like the body just runs out of gas. But I think to your point of but what would that moment be though? How many reps would it take to create failure in that moment? Like, how do we know unless we start to test and try these things of ourselves? Because then how the hell do we get better at any of it, right? Like if we never tried anything, we're going to miss out on tons of stuff. Like I didn't realize how much I liked lifting until I kind of just got fed up during like COVID.
Yeah.
And my neighbor was deadlifting. So shout out to Spencer. So he was deadlifting and I went out there and I'd never done it before.
Yeah.
And like cold, I pulled like 270 and it was just like, hold on, there's something really cool here. And like, I think that's all it took for me to kind of realize I'm like, there's really cool opportunity. And if I didn't have that day, I might not have done the rest of this. And I think that's kind of interesting too. So we'll get to this one. Is there any other like health related topics or something you're enthusiastic to discuss further?
So something that I know very, very little about, but like something that I want to talk about further is like the spirituality of it, which sounds so very yoga.
Well, there is yoga, so it makes sense.
But it's one of those things where it's like connecting like the mind to what you're doing and that mindfulness at the same time. Because if you go and just pick up weight and just kind of like just go for it and not like if you don't have like any like in mind to muscle, that kind of like thing. Yep. So I guess like there's a weird spirituality of that. But if you just go pick up weight, you're just going to like hurt yourself if you don't know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. So I think that's one of the things that I'm like kind of interested in to like, again, know very little about. I just know that like after yoga and thinking about how everything's connecting, it feels great. Like there was one day I walked home and I was just like, this is the most beautiful day that's ever been. Like,
oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause like I actually find those moments. That's why I'm like, I think yoga is not just like a thing. It's like an experience.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, whenever the mind and the body are doing the same thing and finding unity, technically that's yoga. So I like making the jokes. Like I can find yoga in a bicep curl.
Yeah.
And I'll just sit there and be like, really be able to feel the individual fibers kind of firing. And it doesn't matter what the weight is at that point. It's probably going to be lighter so I can focus.
Right.
But again, it's probably a slower tempo and just kind of imagining what that muscle is going through, right? So you can kind of, even if you close your eyes a little bit, you can see, especially if you have a good understanding of like what the muscle tissue is made of. So it's all these like interlooping like hooks. And basically when they pull on each other, that's how the muscle contracts. And when they let go, they all stretch back out. So they just grab onto each other and that's all they do. So if you start to think that at the very smallest level, all you're trying to do is just pull two items closer to one another at the smallest scale ever, and then you would grow off of that one. But that's how the muscle fires, right? Mm-hmm. So the muscle, everything only contracts. There is no push muscle anywhere in our body.
Yeah, see, I did not do well in biology. So like, I feel like I was relearning that for the first time in forever. Yeah.
Oh, so good. We just checking to make sure that there's still a fair amount of time. Because I want to make sure that if there's any other things that you want to go ahead and talk about in terms of your fitness journey, weightlifting, yoga, or just something you want to share that, maybe somebody else needs to hear that's going to go help them like start a journey or to do something tougher or more fun with their life.
So I think one of my big things is, especially being someone who's had an eating, like, or currently has an eating, because like I said, it doesn't go away, is just for other people to hear, like, there are people who are there to support and help. Like, you're not gonna like assault people and be like, do you struggle with eating? Like, and that's one of the nice things about walking in
I
here.
binge. That's what I know.
So,
I still binge every once in a while, and I hate that.
But knowing that, like, this is a place where it's like, even if we like, as the customer, don't communicate that, knowing there's still that support of like, okay, let's see what your body's capable of, and putting the focus on you as a person, which is something I really appreciate. And also, like, something that I think a lot of people forget about, especially when they're in that moment of like, I shouldn't eat that apple because it's got like X amount of calories, or even if you don't know how many calories it is, you know that it's just something that you feel like you don't deserve. But your body, if you're hungry, your body deserves the apple. And your body deserves to be able to do the most it can. So again, I'm a hypocrite, but I hope that resonates with someone and helps someone too. Because I'm still struggling with it. And if someone ever wants to talk to me about it, I'd love to talk.
And we'll put contact stuff in there. So something like Instagram, something else, you can go ahead and reach out. Again, if you're looking for classes over at Triton, there's an in, so you can go ahead and get some help with that as well. I think it's been really, really helpful and insightful stuff to kind of, and I just wanted to make sure that other people got to hear your story. That's why this podcast stuff exists. And I've actually not done a really great job of trying to get other people on here. It's just been me on a platform just saying like, do these things, or like, this is what I struggled with this week. So I do want to include more and more people into these conversations. And then hopefully we'll be able to come back around and then start with a new set of questions where it's just like, well, what have we learned since then? How has the goals changed? Or actually, that's actually a really good one to kind of head out on with. What's the goal?
The goal one is to just keep every day, like, overcoming like the challenge of life. Because I really like your inspiration for the week.
The Amor Fati?
Yeah.
I Love Fate.
Yes. Because one, you have your own internal, I'm going to call them demons. You have your own internal demons, but two, you don't know what's going to happen. You wake up one day and you're like, I am going to go to work. And then the next thing you know, everything's changed. And like, life is crazy that way. But this is not my goal. Sorry, I forgot the question. I went on a complete.
That's fine. The thing is, it's leading to what you inspire to go for. Yeah. So please. Yeah.
So continuing to just live to the challenge of every day. Some days easier than others. Get that deadlift up a little bit more. I know I've been working on that.
And inversions, right?
And inversions, like starting to really get into the inversions. So those are my goals.
Yeah. And again, seeing the progress that you made on your deadlifts. Yeah. The inversions, yes, we can go ahead and work on this a little bit more, but I know that you're working with Jackie at the Secret Yoga Club, so hopefully you're throwing them in there.
Trying to, yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So the thing is, if you spend some time doing the difficult things get easier. Yes. But if you never spend time doing difficult things, everything gets harder.
Right.
So,
well, it's like art. Like, you look at these artists who are like making these beautiful masterpieces, and sometimes, yes, some people just have a natural talent that helps them gain a step ahead. But if you spend every day drawing the same flower, you're going to eventually get a realistic flower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Practice makes improvement.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So on that note, I think that's a great topic to go ahead and wrap this up with. So again, thanks so much for spending the time. And again, Hunter, thanks so much for sharing all this awesome information. So hopefully this is going to be like a super clean edit, and I'll get this out in like the next week or so.
Great. All right. If I can throw in like a small plug, because I work at Triton. So if you know anyone who wants their associates or a certificate in early childhood, and they're working in early childhood right now, they get a free scholarship to come take classes with us. So I know, like, since it's a community, we want to use our resources. And this is a great resource that's, I think, right now for sure, we have it for the academic year for 23 to 24. So use it now while we know we have it.
Well, very cool. And on that note, good luck.